Okay, good morning. So what we're looking at here is just a question taken from the from your textbook. Just to make you aware, so what we're trying to look at is the relationship between like the coordinated plane, which is what we're looking at here, and algebraic expressions, because they do link in together. Now, what we're looking at here is that each line, so we see here we have two lines, and those two lines actually intersect each other. So the given diagram shows the graphs of the line x minus y is equal to 1. So this line here can be represented with an expression x minus 1 is equal to y. And this line here can be represented with an expression as well. It's x plus 2y is equal to 4. Now what it asks you to do is write down the coordinates of the point of intersection of the two lines. So what we mean by the point of intersection is where the two lines cross over. And we see here this point right in the middle. So what we want to do is to answer part 1, we want to write down what is the coordinates for that. So part 1, all you're simply doing, you're looking at where this intersection, what's the x coordinate and what's the y coordinate. So we write it like this. So we put in the value for x first. So if we look along the bottom, okay, so if we take this point and we draw a line right down, so we see here that it cuts the x-axis at 2. Okay, so the x value is 2. And then we look at here and we look at where it cuts the y-axis. So we draw a line across from the point, and where it cuts this y-axis, we write down that value. So the point is 1. So it's the point 2, so x and y. So it cuts the point at where x is 2 and y is 1. So when you're reading this graph as well, so it's just some of the basics in relation to graphs. So the horizontal line, or the line along the bottom, is known as the x-axis. It's always the x-axis. And the vertical line, the line that travels up, is always the y-axis. And all you simply do is, it asks you for the point of intersection, this point where the two lines cross over. So you start that point, you draw your line down, and wherever it cuts the x-axis, that's your x coordinate. Okay, so you just write it like that, 2, and then you do the same as well. You draw a line across, and wherever it cuts the vertical line is what's known as the y coordinate, and you just write in your values like that. Okay, so x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 1. Now the next part, what it asks you to do is, it asks you to take these two expressions and solve the simultaneous equation. So all you simply do is you write them out. So you can write them like this. So we let this expression here, which represents this line, equal expression 1. So we just write down 1. And it is equal to x minus y is equal to 1. And then we have expression 2, which is this one here. So it's x plus 2y is equal to 4. Now what we want to do is we want to solve for x and solve for y. So if we have a look here, so if we focus on the y variables first, we want the y variables, we want them to have opposite sign, which they have, but we want them to have the same coefficient value. Now the variable in expression 2 has the value for 2, and the variable in expression 1 has the value for 1. So we need to increase the value of the coefficient on expression 1. So what we can do is we can multiply every term in expression 1 by 2. So we can just write it like this. So it's 2 multiplied by. So what that means is we're going to multiply every term in here by 2. And then what we'll do is we'll rewrite the expression down here. So we'll rewrite expression 1. So first of all, we multiply everything by 2 because we want it to be the same value as the y variable in expression 2. So 2 multiplied by x will give you 2x. 2 multiplied by minus y gives you minus 2y. 2 multiplied by 1, that's equal to 2. So we've just taken this expression and we've multiplied every term in the expression by 2. So now what we do is we take expression 2 and we just bring it down underneath. Sorry now. So we just take expression 2 and we write it down underneath here. So we just write it like this. So it's going to be x plus 2y is equal to 4. And all we do now is we just add these expressions together. So 2 plus 4 is equal to 6 is equal to, so we've minus 2y plus 2y. So this is the reason why we multiplied the expression 1 by 2, because we wanted to get the coefficients the same value but opposite sign. So if we have plus 2y minus 2y, these two will cancel out. So they will actually cancel out with each other. And then we have, these will actually cancel out with each other. So we're adding these. So minus 2y plus 2y, and they'll cancel out. And then we have 2x plus 1x, that's going to be equal to 3x. So now we can say 3x is equal to 6. Now we want to get rid of the 3 here, so we want to turn that into a 1. So how do we go about turning that into a 1? We have to divide this by, divide by 3. If we divide this side by 3, we have to divide this side by 3. So what will that look like then? So 3 into 3, so 3 will go into that once, will go into that once, 3 will go in there once, and 3 will go in there 2 times. So it's going to be x is equal to 2. Now what we want to do is we figured out what x is. Now we want to figure out what y is. So we take expression 1, we just write it over here. So expression 1 is equal to x minus y is equal to 1. So what we can do is we can take this value that we found out for x and we can substitute it into this expression. So x is equal to 2. So what we do is we substitute this value into this expression. So what that means is wherever there's an x in the expression, we replace it with a 2. So it's going to be 2 minus y is equal to 1. Now what we want to do is we want to get this y on its own. So in order to get it on its own, we have to get rid of this 2. Now this is plus 2. So what we do is we do the opposite of addition and we subtract. So in order to turn this to 0, we have to minus 2. And remember, if we minus 2 on one side, we have to minus 2 on the other side as well. So we minus 2 from here. So what will happen is, so plus 2 minus 2 will cancel out, and then you'll have minus y is equal to plus 1 minus 2 is equal to minus 1. Okay, now you'd never leave it as minus. What you have to do is you have to change it so that it's positive. Now the only thing you can do is you can multiply this expression by a number. So what we want to do is we want to change this minus y to plus y. So what we would do is we would multiply it by minus 1. So what we do is we multiply everything here by minus 1, and then we just rewrite it down here. So it's going to be minus 1 multiplied by minus y will give you plus y. So you can just write it as y. Minus 1 multiplied by minus 1 is going to be it's going to be equal to, minus 1 by minus 1 is just going to be equal to 1, plus 1. So y is equal to 1. So what we found out is that x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 1. Okay, so that's what we've worked out by solving the two simultaneous equations. So that's the answer to part 2. Okay, that's your answer. And then the final part then is explain the connection between your answers one to part two and to part one of it. So we want to explain the answers. So what we do is the link between the two is as follows. So you see here that when you solve the simultaneous equation, the value that you get for x and the value that you get for y is where the two lines intersect. So really what you're saying is that if you were given a diagram like this and you have two lines, wherever those lines intersect, that's the solution to both simultaneous equations. That's where the x value and the y value for both simultaneous equations are the same. And that's what it means, like that's the connection between both. Okay, so that's just again, it's just solving simultaneous equations, and then it's also bringing in this element of using a graph as well that has lines on it. So I'm going to I'll set you some questions and give them a go, and let me know how you get on.